hope you're all doing well. So I wanted to catch you up with how I've got on with my stitching. So I've finally finished these two flowers and leaves. It's not necessarily all even, but I'm still really happy with how it looks, and I definitely think I got my spider's webs a little bit better on this side than this side. As for the cross stitch with the French knot, I realised where I'd gone wrong on this side. I couldn't work out why all of my French knots didn't seem to stand up, and it's because I was doing the French knots with a single stitch, whereas you were meant to do the crosses and then go back and do the French knot on top with a double stitch, which I did on the other side, and it definitely has got more 3D effects and looks a little bit better than the other one. So that's where I'm at, and I'm really happy with how it looks. I love these two colours, the blue and like the yellowy green together here. I think that looks really nice. So we're going to be moving on. I'm just going to move across my linen to the next bit, as we're going to be working on some leaves and doing a new stitch, which is the coral stitch. So Arthur is a bit sad now that Bella is gone, but he's now become my little stitching companion. He's learned from Bella, and he's going to be helping me do the coral stitch. Now, I spent quite a bit of time in between the last clip and this one trying to work out how to do the coral stitch. It's the first time it's not come quite easy to me, but I think I've got the hang of it. It's a little bit fiddly, but it is worth it. So I've already done one length, so I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing before I messed it up on camera. So this is, I think, what it's meant to look like. And you have like a little knot in between each one. Now, it's not very evenly spaced, mine, but I'm quite happy with the fact that I've actually got a full stitch at the moment. So I thought I'd have a go at showing you how to do it. I'm sure that there's some technique which is quite wrong, but we've got a stitch and it looks quite like the one Phillip suggests, and it is in the instructions. So I've come up through the tip of the grass, and the idea is you work down. So you come up at the tip and then you go through where the line is. So you leave your needle like that, so it's through. And I kind of have mine so it's halfway. Then I make sure that this isn't in a knot with the end, and the working thread goes over the needle, and then like that, and then you're going to bring this thread over and under the needle like that, so it makes like a C shape maybe for coral, and then you pull through like that, and then you've got a knot. So I'm going to try and keep it in line with my other knots maybe. I'll try and get the spacing on this one a little bit better. The bit I'm definitely struggling with is getting this bit where the needle's straight. So we're going to take it, the working thread over there, and then under. Let's try this again, and under. So, and Phillip does say try and keep the working thread quite tight. So I'm trying my best to do that, and then pull through like that. It's definitely one of those ones I'm finding I'm having to tell myself what to do each time out loud. So we're gonna working thread over, and then take it under, and then pull through. So we've got the thread halfway. I always try and make sure this little bit stays out of the way. Working thread over, nice and tight. Put that under, and then This one's already looking a little bit neater than the first one. So, taut. The other thing is making sure that you don't accidentally thread some of the thread onto the needle, which I did on one of my practice goes. So tight, and then we're gonna take that under there. Once you get the hang of it, it's not quite as frustrating. I definitely got frustrated when I couldn't work out which bit went on top and which bit went under, but if you take it slowly and follow the kind of the image, it does work. I found it easier though, I don't know if it's right to do it that way, to do it where the line's sideways rather than parallel. Where it's landscape rather than portrait, the line. I've just found it easier working that way across rather than down. I don't know if that's right, but find which way works for you best and doesn't leave you getting agitated, because at the end of the day, this is an activity we enjoy to do. This is something we enjoy creating. The other thing is also making, because on the pictures on the instructions, the tail is always, of the thread is always kind of there and out of the way. So that's what I'm trying to make sure I do. And then taut over there, onto there. I don't know the best way to pick this needle up. There. It was definitely tricky and I found it quite frustrating when I couldn't do it, but I'm very pleased I've managed to get my head around it. It feels very nice to have got your head around it, which makes it almost more enjoyable. Not at the time, but now I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I think I know what I'm doing. Anyways, it could be wrong, but we've got a stitch and it's looking nice and grass-like. The other thing is, just with following the stitch chart, I'm making sure that when I'm threading the needle parallel, I'm trying to get the line, the guideline just like in the middle of that, if that makes sense. If you show, just like, that's how I'm trying to get it each time. So, working thread over, and then under. Rethread the needle quickly. So. And through, and I'll just do one last one on the base. There. And then I'm just going to put a little seeding stitch at the end just to finish the thread off. So there we've got half of the first piece of grass done in the coral stitch, and I feel very good that I've managed to work that one out. It's that thing, if you follow the instructions, and I find following the shape of the thread is a lot easier than reading the words sometimes, but actually trying to make the thread in the same shape and following from the tail of the thread did help me. So I'm going to carry on working through this. I've got a feeling it might take me a while whilst I still get my technique, and on Thursday I'll show you how I've got on with that, and we'll be moving on to the next element, which is we're going back to the long and short stitch for the hill which our stag is kind of on, so the base of this grass. So that's what we're moving on to on Thursday, and I'll be very glad to be going to a stitch that I know and enjoy doing. I like long and short stitch. So I will see you on Thursday.